On Friday here at Daytona, threatening skies and an eventual downpour forced postponement of the scheduled NASCAR Busch Series event. But today, a bright sun is shining and we are just moments away from the start of NASCAR's summer celebration of speed. We welcome you back to the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, for our live coverage of race number 19 on the 35-race, $50 million NASCAR Busch Series Tour. Well, it's time to head trackside for some final pre-race activities, which will include a very special moment of silence in remembrance of the man whose vision and leadership brought this sport to where it is today, Bill France Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the Daytona Beach Police Department Color Guard present our nation's colors. And now, will you please pause for a moment of silence as we remember Bill France Jr. Mr. France was instrumental in making NASCAR the great sport it is today. Please remain standing as Reverend Dr. Ronald Durham from the Greater Friendship Missionary Baptist Church in Daytona Beach offers our invocation.
Lord, endow each driver in this race with divine wisdom. Bless every driver, their team, and their families. Give them patience as they seek to maneuver themselves into position. Steady their hands upon the wheel around each turn of the track so that they will place their cars in the right place at the right time. Keep each driver from all danger and guide them safely to the finish line. Thank you, Lord, for safety, wisdom, patience, and blessings upon this race. Amen, and Godspeed.
And now, please join Daytona Beach's own and the winner of our Straightaway to Stardom National Anthem Singing Contest, Johnny Mayo, in the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Johnny.
Well, this is the World Center of Racing, a place where for decades memories have been made and dreams have come true. Yes, this is Daytona.
For true racing fans, the birth of the nation is always celebrated at the birth of speed. A place that needs no introduction, steeped with memories of men and machines. Now, after mastering the track in February, Kevin Harvick returns with momentum on his side to the site of one of his greatest memories. It's been a season filled with special moments, from good to bad to ugly. Now, here at the halfway point, the NASCAR season has come full circle. Back to Daytona, back to where it all began.
Side by side, right to the line. Here they come, checkered flag. Harvick. Kevin Harvick wins the Daytona 500.
ESPN's presentation of the NASCAR Busch Series at Daytona is being brought to you by Allstate, the official insurance sponsor of NASCAR, and by Carfax, and by Holiday Inn Racing. Always stay under the green. Here at Daytona International Speedway, wow, what a difference 12 hours makes as the sun is shining brightly. Good crowd on hand here. NASCAR's finest headed to their cars, getting cinched up, getting buckled in. It looks like it's going to be a hot one both on and off the racetrack. Air temperature right now 81 degrees. It is supposed to be in the mid to upper 90s before this race is over here today. Track temperature is soaring at over 120 degrees. Last night the rains came and everyone thought the rains would move away when we get a chance to race, but this is sort of like turning back the clock, because in the early years we always race in the early morning here at Daytona in July. So for you traditionalists, it's all about history returning to the World Center of Racing. Let's go down trackside for the command.
And now, for the most famous words in motorsports, today's Grand Marshal, the Vice President of Center Store Winn Dixie, Paul Tiberio.
On behalf of Winn Dixie and all of our associates, gentlemen, start your engines.
Well, the engines have fired, and before they roll off, let's check in with some of the best pit reporters in the business and check in on some final stories. First, here's Shannon Spade.
Well, Doc, the date may be 7707, but the big news on the track is the 88 car. That's because for the first time, Dale Jr. is driving his own JR Motorsports car. Now, he has an uphill climb because he qualified 35th for this race, his worst qualifying effort in the Busch Series here at Daytona. But with 5 Busch wins at this track, you can never count Dale Jr. out. Mike Massaro.
Well, to win a championship, you must not only win races and collect points, but you must also find a way to overcome adversity. And that's exactly what the point leaders, Carl Edwards and the 60 team, are attempting to do today. In final practice, they had a bearing failure and had to replace motors. By rule, they'll have to start toward the back of the field. But crew chief Pierre Cattell, he's not worried. He says the car drafts exceptionally well. And he expects Carl to be racing with the leaders by day's end. Jamie?
Well, Mike, after starting 31st at this race in February, Kevin Harvick captured his first restrictor plate race. He backed that up by winning the Daytona 500. Now today, he's back in that exact same Busch Series car, and to his surprise, he said this car is faster than it was in February. He'll roll off for Dave.
Jamie, Toyota was a big story here in February. Jason Leffler qualified second. Dave Blaney finished second in the race. Now, at the other restrictor place race this year at Talladega, they ran well as well. They qualified second and third. The Braun Racing Toyotas, very strong. They expect to be so again today. Jason Leffler has put the 38 car on the pole, and he may be a shot at winning today's race. Doc?
Thanks, guys. Great stories we'll be following all day long. And hello, everyone. Along with the champs, Rusty Wallace and Andy Petrie, I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you back with us here at Daytona under a sunshiny day here for racing. And, Andy, I got to ask you, back in February, they run on this exact same racetrack, but the races here in July are totally different. Why?
Well, it might be the same asphalt out there, but it is a different racetrack in the summer here at Daytona than it is in February. And these guys, anytime you put a restrictor plate on a race car, drafting is going to be very important. But today, handling is going to be a premium too, because the track is going to get hot and slick, and these guys are going to be chasing it all day.
Rusty, back in February, Kevin Harvick came from 31st spot and just kept marching his way to the front and won it. Bobby Labonte won from 34th starting spot at Talladega. What's the likelihood of that happening here today?
Well, Jerry, I think anybody can go from the back of the pack to the front in a restrictor plate race, and I expect to see a lot of that today. Hey, it's going to be a fast start because this track is pretty cool right now, only about 90 degrees in the track temperature. As Jerry said earlier, this track temp's going to soar over 120 degrees, approaching 130, so look for a lot of fast action early in this race.
Should be a hot one here today. When we return, we'll visit with our in-race reporter, reigning Busch Series champion Kevin Harvick, as he and the other Busch Series drivers are saddled up and ready to race. And the 2007 NASCAR season is underway.
Inside
take your own teammate out.
Juan Pablo Montoya has won it here at Mexico City, and the fans are going wild. Back there between the 33 and the 12, and they keep bashing each other.
Casey, what was your take on that battle?
It was fun to watch. I was laying back and just seeing who was going to win on that deal.
Oh, we got trouble on the track, and it's Kyle Busch upside down.
And Casey Kane will take the checkered flag. This ESPN telecast of the NASCAR Busch Series at Daytona is available in high definition on ESPN2 HD, presented by Vizio. Well, the cars have rolled off. Let's take a look at our starting grid as it comes across the top of your screen. You'll see that 31-year-old Jason Leffler in a Toyota will lead him down, flanked by two-time NASCAR Nextel Cup champion Tony Stewart. By the way, 4 Toyotas starting in the top 12 today. As we check in with our in-race reporter who starts back in 4th spot, the AutoZone Chevrolet, Kevin Harvey.
Hey, Kevin, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
10-4, man.
Hey, buddy, you won the 500 and the Busch race here, and you got the same car that you won with. What's your strategy? It's different track conditions here now.
I think this is a little bit different than probably what we would have faced last night, just for the fact that the sun's out. So I told you yesterday that I thought we'd go to the back of the pack and just kind of ride around and wait for the first caution, because we usually don't qualify this good. So we're probably just going to have to race here for a while unless we have some handling issues or something like that. So AutoZone Chevrolet has been good in both practices and just going to have to make the right adjustments here under the caution.
All right, Kev, thanks for talking to us, man. Bring her home.
Yeah, how about Kevin Harvey?
All right, guys, have fun.
Kevin opens his visor, looks in the camera, signals to us. I think he understands that television presence. Let's talk to his crew chief now, Shane Wilson.
Hey, Shane Wilson, Andy Petrie up here in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, 10-4, Andy, I got you.
Hey, Shane, with this race now being run in the daytime, how does that affect the car setups down there?
We're not quite sure yet. I mean, we ran this race here in the spring during the day, but it was a lot cooler, so we're just going to run these first 20. NASCAR is going to give us a competition yellow on lap 20, and hopefully we'll be able to get her tuned up and adapt it to the new conditions.
10-4, Shane. We'll be checking in with you later today. Good luck.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, we'll be riding along with 9 high-definition onboard cameras. J.J. Ely, the Mikasuki Chevy, starts in 40th. Clint Boyer starts 5th, the BB&T Chevrolet. Mike Wallace, 30th, although he will go to the back of the pack because of an adjustment on the car in the Geico Chevy. Heard from Kevin Harvick. David Gilliland in the FreeCreditReport.com Ford, 22nd. Scott Wimmer starts 8th. The Holiday Inn Chevrolet. Carl Edwards, 19th in the Aflac Ford. He will go to the back of the pack because of an engine change. Bobby Labonte, 31st, the Dollar General Chevrolet. And David Rudeman, 11th, one of those 4 Toyotas in the top 12 in the Aaron's Toyota here today. Well, before we go green, let's check in down in the pit studio with our host, Alan Bestwick, and the big fellow, the voice of the fans, Brad Doherty.
And Doc, we're all cinched up in our seats here and ready for the green flag. A day-night doubleheader's gotten pretty rare in baseball. It's been done before in NASCAR, and for 20 drivers, 650 miles of racing in the Florida heat today, Brad.
Well, you know what, Alan? We got a chance to spend the evening yesterday with Clint Boyer, and he told us about this, and he talked about running both races, and surprisingly, he is looking forward to it. He was sitting there telling us he thinks that he can win both races, so that's exciting. I love the attitude, and these guys are racers. They want to get after it, have this race today, have the race tonight. They want to race all the time, and I'm excited, man. We get to come back. I got to sit and think about this race last night, and here I am. I get to watch it. I can't wait.
Memo to self, morning telecast.
I can't wait.
No coffee for Brad.
Let's do this, man. Let's go racing.
All right, Andy Petrie, what are we looking for here as the green flag gets this thing going?
Well, Alan, what we need to look for, we're going to have a slick racetrack, and the sun coming out on the track is going to change the handling characteristics of these cars and kind of what these guys were setting up for a night race. So these guys are going to be having to adjust their cars and avoiding the big one. There's two different strategies on how to do that. Some guys maybe want to go to the back and hang out there for a while. Some guys want to stay at the front so they can be in front of the wreck. Where to be to avoid it is critical. And then drafting. Always at Daytona and Talladega, drafting is a big deal, and you got to find the right guy to draft with and who your car runs good with.
All right, it is a 250-mile event here, the Midsummer Celebration of Speed at the World Center of Racing. 100 laps on a high bank 2.5-mile tri-oval. That's banked at 31 degrees. There's the pit window. And, of course, it should be one great NASCAR Busch Series race to watch. We will have a competition yellow at lap 20. That's when we will come on the pit road. You cannot take fuel, by the way, according to NASCAR rules, until that competition yellow on lap 20. Well, the sun may be shining here at Daytona, but for the next 2 hours, all eyes will be focused on the stars that are strapped inside these cars. NASCAR's finest buckled up and ready to race on the high banks here at Daytona. So we will invite you to sit back and enjoy as we head to the green flag. Let's listen in as we go full throttle.
Long day here. Let's be smart. Make laps. Coming to the green here. Pace cars going. Be ready. You ready? Nice and smooth. Nice and smooth. Get ready. Ready. Everybody's rolling 2 by 2. Everybody's rolling. Outside. Still outside. Still inside. Still outside. Outside. Inside. Still too wide. Outside lane. Under nose and tail. 2 by 2. 2 by 2. Stay on your own. Nobody from behind. Too wide. Run coming back at your door. Get away. Number 2. Tail.
As they sail down the backstretch, Kevin Harvick gets a bit of a drafting boost from his teammate Clint Bowyer, and they go sailing by Tony Stewart and Jason Leffler. And when they left here in February, it was Kevin Harvick coming down to take the checkered flag. Guess what, guys? Kevin Harvick comes down to lead the first lap here in July.
Well, guys, right now are off to a good, clean start. No problems whatsoever at the moment. And this caution is going to come out around lap 20, guys. That's going to be really good for absolutely checking your fuel mileage in a good way, Andy. As you well know, you take a guess at it, but this is really good right now that you're going to get this opportunity to check it out.
Yeah, these guys are going to race hard for about 20 laps and then feel what they've got in their cars and adjust them on that stop. Since they get that extra pit stop or a scheduled stop there at 20 laps, they can adjust on their cars.
Guys, right now they're running 3 wide coming down the back straightaway. The track temperatures are pretty cool, and that's allowing those guys to do that right now. When this track gets hot, you're going to see them separate. The cars are not going to handle near as good.
We saw the 5 car of Kyle Busch way up at the top of the racetrack early on. You think that is by design, or you think his car is just that far off here in the morning heat?
It may be by design. He's wanting to get up there and try to make some, get a few spots early here, and using that high groove, he might be able to knock off 2 or 3 at a time while they're 2 and 3 wide.
Now he has fallen back in line. Kyle Busch, who led the most laps here in February, bought a brand new race car here for the weekend. Shannon.
Doc, the number 5 car, Kyle Busch, had some problems in final practice. They were involved in a little incident on the track with Jason Leffler, rolled backwards. They opted not to change that engine. Now, I talked to engine tuner John Clark. He said it was no problem. Everything looked fine. But the reason they didn't change the engine was because NASCAR is a rule in NASCAR that they have to see something visibly wrong with the engine in order to change it. Now, if Hendrick Motorsports had decided to change that engine with nothing visibly wrong, then they would have had to give that engine to NASCAR. So like I said, John Clark, engine tuner, said that the engine was fine. Kyle Busch went out and ran some more laps on it, and they're confident in their engine today.
Yeah, the NASCAR doesn't let you just change the engine just because you want to change it. You have to prove or demonstrate that there's something wrong with it. And that's the case there. Shannon's just telling us that NASCAR would actually take the engine away from these guys if they just took it out of there with nothing wrong.
Well, I tell you what, they got some tight action going on right now on the track. The 41 car's locked in the center, 3 wide coming out of the back straightaway. That's Reed Sorensen. And man, I'll tell you what, this track is so cool right now, they can run anywhere. Now, they can't flirt with that yellow line, Jerry.
I saw them flirting with it right there on the back stretch, and I don't think that NASCAR, you'll see a penalty drawn there because it was just getting so crowded they had to have a little extra room.
And they were also flirting with 4 wide, and the only way you can do that is if you use the airport runway next door, and that's because there's not enough room back there. Let's check in on the Montoya efforts with Jamie.
Well, Doc, if you remember back to this race in February, so much Unfortunately, his day was cut short with engine problems. This time out, though, he says it feels a lot different. He said this car, quote, is a handful. He's not used to these kind of conditions. And oh, by the way, he was supposed to golf this morning, and he's out running in the Busch car. Guys?
Thanks, Jamie. The 29 car, I mean, just gave me chills. Scott Wimmer just shoved it right in between two cars and didn't have like a foot on either side.
And Jerry, you think they're supposed to be kind of calm right now, but they're not. And the reason they're not is because the track is so good because of the cool temperatures. They're running 3 wide because they can.
Yeah, later when this track gets hotter and these tires get worn, they won't be able to do this. So while the track's good, these guys are going to take advantage of it. Here we got them racing 3 wide.
Yeah, Montoya, the 42 car, and the 41, by the way, that's his teammate at Ganassi Racing, Reed Sorensen, and he's right in the middle of that sandwich with the 20 car of Almirola up high.
Man, I tell you, the 4 car of Regan Smith just pinched off the 77 of Bobby Labonte in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Barely missed him, almost got him in the wall, and that's where a really good spotter comes into effect to help you in those situations like that.
And sometimes these guys get inside of each other and they have to have that extra room. They can't help it. They just slide up in front of somebody. And that's why you have that give and take. And Bobby Labonte, being the pro that he is, he just let him have the spot.
Boy, you hit on a key thing right there, Andy. Bobby Labonte's a real pro. He's a professional, and the drivers really trust him. So he was smart by just backing out of the throttle, let Regan come up, because obviously Regan couldn't see him cutting off.
Yeah, a less experienced driver could have created a problem there. Bobby Labonte knew exactly what to do. Now they are lining up front in pursuit of Kevin Harvick. And Harvick and the leaders are just single file. Mike?
Well, Doc, Kevin Harvick may be feeling the effects of this originally being scheduled as a night race. Going into that event, everyone wanted to set up their car just a little bit free, expecting the track to get a little bit tighter as the race wore on. Right now, they're complaining that they're just a little bit too loose, and Kevin doesn't really like the way it feels right now. Dave?
His teammate Clint Boyer right behind him. He said, tell Kevin I'm peeking my nose out every once in a while, but it's not because I want to make a run on him. The temperatures on my car are climbing. I need to get some fresh air in the radiator of the 2 car when I can. The other issue for Clint right now, he can't hear his crew chief, Dan Deeringhoff, very well, so he's relying on Mike Dillon, the spotter, to relay any information coming from pit road.
Well, Kevin Harvick left here in February with the kind of memories every driver could only dream of. He won both the Busch Series event and the Daytona 500. He leads the field here today at a place where we've all come for many, many years and achieved some incredible memories.
Still under the green at Daytona, Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer, the 2 Richard Childress teammates, still running 1 and 2 in the 21 and 2 cars, respectively. Bestwick and Brad in the ESPN pit studio. Just a quick update, a rule that's different at Daytona than at almost every other track on the circuit, that yellow line on the bottom of the racetrack.
Absolutely, Alan, and you have to stay. You cannot advance your position by going below that yellow line. And we saw him earlier. We heard Andy talk about NASCAR being a little bit lenient. If there's an incident where you need racing room, you can utilize that area, but you cannot advance your position because when you go into the corners, the apron flattens out and you can shoot up that racetrack. Extremely dangerous, so that's the rule.
Think of the yellow line as an out-of-bounds line. Now, just a second ago, Bobby Labonte, driver who won the last race using this rules package at Talladega. Look at this off turn 4.
Well, I tell you, he lost power obviously there, and you see the car's getting sideways. Kyle Krisloff does a great job saving that race car. Could have been a huge incident, but I think he's gotten power back.
Listen to Bobby Labonte from on board.
33 in the middle, 1 back. Now you drop to the bottom.
Blew up or something there.
Man, that's not a healthy sound.
Well, that doesn't sound real good.
Shannon Spake, you got an update on it?
Well, Alan, you know, it's a 77 car, it's 7707. So luck is on Bobby Labonte's side. He was moving through the field when the car jumped out of gear. He lost gear. And so therefore, when they bring that car down during the competition yellow on lap 20, they are going to put a bungee cord to hold that car in gear. Now, you'll remember they also did this in Talladega, and you saw how that turned out. Go over to Tim Brewer, who's going to give us a little more explanation on what they're going to do on that competition yellow. Tim.
What happened there the car, actually the lever, popped forward, which knocked it out of gear. What they're going to do, they've got a rubber bungee cord they're going to affix to the back of the seat, and it'll hook this lever, holding the thing in gear for the rest of the event.
All right, thank you very much, Tim. For more information on how that all works inside the gearing, you can log on to ESPN.com, search word know-how, and you'll understand what Bobby Labonte had to do. And obviously another act, he had composure when he got squeezed in lap 3, and he had composure when the car started shuttling and having suffering just a lap ago.
Yeah, well, that thing flew out of gear. He's really lucky that rev limiter caught that thing. What you heard there, it sounded like the car was missing, was actually the engine revving up against the rev limiter until he could get it back in gear.
And what happened, Andy, is that when that thing jumped out of gear, he just laid in the motor. He didn't know it popped out of gear, and it was just going crazy. Now, take a look at Kevin Harvick here, guys. He's really, really loose. He's on the bottom of the track. He's going to the back now, Andy. He's going to go to the back because his car is way loose. He's talked about that earlier in our broadcast, whether he's going to do it or not. It looks like he's doing it.
All right, here's what happened a moment ago. Clint Bowyer just sailing by his teammate to take the lead as Bowyer takes over the lead. And Kevin Harvick, who was battling and led the first few laps, and this was by design. And you and Kevin Harvick, Rusty, talked about it in the garage area yesterday. He said, you know, if I can lead early, okay, but if I'm not, I'm going to...
He's going to go to the back of the pack, he said. Now, Jerry, he qualified really well. And, you know, cool track conditions, you know, they're hot by anybody's standard, but down here at Daytona, they're pretty cool. He was just looser than he thought he really would be. So now he's going to go to the back and hold on because he's going to have to make a change. Andy told me that as the fuel burns off in this car, it goes from dead loose to neutral to tight. So he's just kind of playing that fuel game right now.
Yeah, he's hoping that thing's going to get tighter because he was complaining big time about it being loose. I don't think he's going to the back by choice right now. I think his car's just not handling it at all.
Well, here's Justin Ashburn, the Day Enterprises car on pit road. Justin making his second start of the year, and obviously they have some issues because they get under the hood here in just lap 15. Now remember, we have a competition yellow coming at lap 20, and that was by design, but NASCAR did that for safety, and they've done it for many, many years. Andy, why?
Well, they do it because the track is green. After the rain washed all the rubber off the track, they want to get a good look at this tire wear and make sure that these guys don't have to run, say, a full fuel stop on these tires with a green racetrack. They can take a look at it and then make adjustments from there.
Here's a look at the 5-car looking back from Clint Bowyer's bumper cam. That is Kyle Busch, who came from 14th starting spot to 4th in 8 laps, and now he's in 2nd spot trying to get back to where he stayed for most of the early part of the February race here when he led 46 laps.
Well, I tell you what, Jerry, one big story right now, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's come from the back of the pack all the way up to 13th, and dude, he's not looking back. His car's handling good. Look at him overtaking Scott Wimmer on the bottom. That 88 Navy car's nailed on the bottom. He's just ready to run down Reed Sorensen there, so no problems in that camp right now.
Not a good qualifying spot for the 88, but he's got a good handling race car. We can see him drive that car down in the corner, flat on the mat, not having to back off. And when the track gets slick, some of these guys have to actually feather out of that throttle as they get in the corner, and that's where Dale Jr. will be able to take advantage of him.
Yeah, word is that kid's pretty good here at this racetrack, huh?
I tell you what, Jerry, if I had a list of drivers that I could pick, and he's on the list to run Daytona Talladega, I'd sign that cat up right now, I'll tell you that.
He'd be top of my list.
All right, Kyle Busch giving Clint Bowyer all he can handle. It is Bowyer, Busch, Blaney. The B's are up front. 2 Chevys and Toyota. Dave Blaney running back in 3rd spot. He finished 2nd here back in February. Tony Stewart sitting comfortably in 4th. And Jason Leffler, our pole sitter, in 5th position.
Okay, 3 laps to go now to the mandatory caution comes out. Couple things are going to happen. A lot of cars out there overheating right now. They'll be able to pull some tape off, make some adjustments. They'll be able to see how much fuel the cars are taking and really calculate what the fuel burn is. So I believe these team guys, Andy, really like this mandatory caution.
Yeah, I tell you, the drivers are going to love it too because they can finally take a breath. Some of them are actually holding on right now just trying to get to that caution, and they can adjust their cars. And the guys down on pit road are ready for it.
Oh, yeah. Looked like Dave Blaney and Tony Stewart both going up high. Dave Blaney went way up high because he was headed to Jacksonville going to turn 1. Everyone else went left, and he went right, and now falls back in line. Again, if you just joined our coverage, this race was supposed to run at 8 o'clock on Friday night, but because of rains and showers, they have rescheduled it to 9:30 on Saturday morning, and it's about a 20-degree difference already in the air temperature, and it's going to be about a 30-degree difference in the track temperature, and these guys could not adjust their cars. The cars were impounded, so thus this caution flag coming out in another lap will allow everyone to come on pit road and take a look.
Yeah, we're going to see the wrenches flying down there on pit road. These guys are going to have to start adjusting for this track temperature coming up. We can see it's pretty cool right now, but it is going to be coming up as his sun bakes on the racetrack.
The 37 car of Jamie McMurray was one of the cars that had trouble even getting fired onto pit road. And McMurray, they had to raise the hood and go under it. They made him go to the back of the pack. And so now he has made his way all the way up to 6th position. Shannon?
Well, that's right, Doc. Jamie McMurray had a little problem on pit road right before the race start. He said while he was sitting there, the car was idling fine, but it all of a sudden died and wouldn't start. So he pumped it, and all of a sudden it turned over and it started. But because they lifted the hood to see what was going on underneath that car, NASCAR considered it a pit stop and made them start from the back of the field. His crew chief came over the radio and said, "Don't worry, Jamie, it's just like practice. You started in the back of the field in practice, you moved your way up, you can do this." And as you see right now on the track, Jamie McMurray certainly has done that.
He's moved all the way to 6th spot. I'd say he's done it for sure. Now we got this competition yellow coming out right now, so these guys can come in and adjust on their cars. So Jamie McMurray really recovered well from that.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, you got some ill-handling race cars out there, because right before this caution flag, these cars really separated on the racetrack, Andy, and they didn't do that just because they wanted to. I think they're doing that because their cars are just not handling real good. It's hot here in Daytona, guys, and it's in the morning.
And getting hotter.
All right, Kevin Moss, the NASCAR Busch Series flagman, waves the yellow. That's his by design. And they will slow down and line up behind the safety car. Andy, if you're a crew chief, what are you thinking right now? Obviously, a lot of things on your mind as far as changing the chassis on this car here in this first opportunity.
I'm burning the radio up right now, trying to get in my driver's head and see what's going on with the car, and so we can be ready for anything. Big thing is getting 4 tires on it and looking at the tires that are coming off.
You know, one big problem right now, guys, is that they really haven't run long enough to know exactly what that car is going to do. We predicted around lap 20 is when they start separating, but you get around lap 25, 30, Andy, that's when they really separate. That's when you really realize the big problem that you do have, and if it's the back or the front of the car.
Yeah, that's why I'm really in his head right now, trying to figure out exactly and pick it apart. What's the car doing, and what do we need to plan for?
By the way, in 3.5 laps, that guy right there, Kevin Harvick.
4 tires and gas. 4 tires and gas.
He went from leading this race all the way back to 17th. He will actually come on the pit road in 17th position.
Not a big concern for Kevin Harvick at all. This is pretty planned. He knows he's got a loose car. He knows he can fix it. He's a veteran. He's won this race before. Hey, he's won both races here in February. I mean, he won everything. He put a whooping on his cats, so he knows what's going on.
He's not worried a bit about the track position right now. What he wants to do is get his car driving the way it needs to, and that's what these guys are going to concentrate on this pit stop.
NASCAR has allowed the crews 1 extra man over the wall to help clean the windshield because of some of the glare that they will have here and some of the sand and debris on the racetrack here in the early morning laps of this race. Clint Bowyer's crew standing by to service his car number 2, Dan Deeringhoff and company, as the Ray Evernham guys are waiting for Casey King. And Kyle Busch's guys are also there. Let's check down with Shannon.
All right, Kyle Busch in that number 5 car for the first time since Charlotte. He's saying that the car is tight. It's a level 3 on a 1 through 5 scale. So they're going to make a track bar adjustment, try to loosen him up a little bit. They're going to give him some fuel and 4 tires. Jamie.
And Tony Stewart happy with the power under that hood. He said, we just need to get the handling figured out. So his crew chief Jason Ratcliffe said they're going to make a wedge adjustment, air pressure adjustment, 4 tires and fuel for Tony Stewart. Let's go to Mike.
Casey King complaining he's tight in and tight off. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment, also go up a half a round on the track bar and add a half round of wedge. Big adjustments on the 9 car. Dave?
15-second stop for Clint Bowyer. A good one. Oh, and in the grass around Bowyer. Bowyer made an air pressure adjustment. He said just a little, Dan. His car was pretty loose, but he wanted just a little bit of an adjustment. And Bowyer will lose positions on pit road to both Kyle Busch and Leffler.
And how about plus 21 spots for Almirola, plus 20 for Krisiloff, and Mark Green up 31 spots.
20 car just couldn't see. He came into pits and tried to lock it down and just absolutely missed his pits and went right past it.
And the 29 car could not refire.
Push back in here.
That is Scott Wimmer. They will not let you push the car past the end of pit road. He had to push it back up pit road. Now watch this race off with Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this. I saw Kyle Busch go to the grass to pass these cars. I'm not sure that's legal, but he does it and just about gets Clint Bowyer coming out of the pit.
Well, NASCAR next door to us is taking a long, hard look at Kyle Busch's little excursion through the grass. They'll have a decision when we come back. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. First caution flag of the day, a competition yellow. And all the leaders have been on and off pit road. Pace car pulls away, and Kyle Busch in the 5 car will lead him down to the green flag. Yeah, 1 car pulling down off the pace here quickly is the 20 car of Eric Almirola. Looks to be off the pace here right on the restart.
Yeah, and that's not making much sense either. Now, he did come down pit road. He missed his pit area, slid past the pits, and went back up on the racetrack and came back in, but it looks like he's got a little damage. Jamie, you got a story on this?
What happened, Rusty, with Eric Almirola when he entered pit road, the 14 of Kyle Krisloff checked up. Eric got into the back of him, crunched in his front nose. So he's busy explaining what had happened to his crew chief. Meanwhile, drove right by his pit stall. He had to come back around, come back in. They tried to pull out that nose the best they could. 4 tires and fuel. They said he's super tight. They're going to have to wait till the next pit stop to make those final adjustments on that front grille, guys. Tough break again for Eric Almirola.
And he has certainly slid back in that pack. He was among these leaders here as Kyle Busch will lead him down in a tight single file draft. Now, Kyle, how did Kyle get the lead? Let's show you what happened exiting pit road.
Let's take a look at this. This is really peculiar. You see the 2 car pulling out, 14 car Kyle Krisloff, and here comes a 5 car flying by on the grass. But guess what? He wasn't exceeding pit road speed. Well, I just learned something, though. You can pass in the grass, I guess.
Well, he did it that time, but NASCAR says he can't do it again. They just warned him about widening the pit lane and using that grassy area. One reason they don't want those guys over there is because they don't have the electronic timing on the grass. They do have it on pit road, so they can't even check his pit road speed when he's in the grass. But they warned him that he can't do it again.
Well, that's a good warning. That's smart on NASCAR's part. Those guys are pretty good. They got a crash on the track right now. Where is it? Right off of turn 2. They hit the wall. Into the wall, sliding off of it, and he's still going. I bet he's got a flat right side on that car. That's for sure, guys.
Yeah, Mike Bliss has come into contact, just bounced it off the concrete. Still seems to be rolling. There goes Kelly Byers by in the 47 car. Bliss has some contact, but is still in the middle of the groove. Okay, watch the 22 car right in front of Stephen Wallace.
In fact, the car just got loose on him. Had to get out of the throttle. Stephen Wallace did a good job not to get into him.
All right, lap 27, and back up as you take a look at these cars here in traffic. Single file up front. Looking back from Clint Boyer's onboard camera a moment ago, Boyer has a very good race car. It looks like it's a car he can drive pretty much anywhere on the racetrack here early on.
Yeah, he's taking the lead here and shuffled the 5 car Kyle Busch. These guys are kind of lined up, filing by him. He'll lose quite a few spots, but they've got Tony Stewart right there on the bottom in that 18 car, moving his way back to the front.
You know, guys, I was talking to Tony Stewart yesterday. The 18 car that sat on the pole at Talladega, this is a different car. I'm sorry, this is the same car as Talladega. They sat on a pole earlier at Daytona with this car. He said, you know, this car drafted so good at Talladega, that's the reason they brought it here. Now, I asked him, I said, hey, at Talladega, you just got a slick car. Here, you need a downforce car. He said, yeah, but doggone, Rusty, this thing sucked up in the draft so good, we just had to bring it back.
Jamie, you got more on Tony Stewart?
Yeah, guys, when he came in, Tony Stewart got too close to the wall. His jackman had to do about 20 pumps to get that left side up. That cost him a few seconds on pit road, which is why he came in 4th and slid all the way back, almost outside the top 10.
Yeah, he's making it back up now, Jamie. He's on the move, bump drafting, getting down into 3. He's getting back to the front. He's going to make it up for him.
As you see this tight pack, you see Reed Sorensen now trying to move on the bottom side to take away the second position from Jamie McMurray. Well, how good is McMurray's car from the back of the pack all the way up into the top 5? They pit, he comes back out, and let's watch Reed. He was trying to get up there and do a little bump drafting, but not where you want to do the bump drafting there in the turn.
Yeah, that's not the place to do it. Getting in the corner right there. That's a wise move, not to just kind of back off and not make any contact.
You know, they're real close right after a pit stop, 9 laps into it, and they're real dicey out there, guys. Their cars are handling good on these fresher tires, and they're darting all over the place right now. About another 10 laps, they're going to start slowing down here when the cars go away.
Yeah, the 5 car of Kyle Busch turns left and has a little bit of drafting help from Dave Blaney. He just made that hard left-hand turn off of turn 2.
Yeah, they got a big push from the 10 car, Dave Blaney. When he got up there and just gave him that big shove and actually pushed the 5 car up ahead. You really see that draft working here.
Now you see Biffle on the outside, the 16 car there behind McMurray. The top side of that racetrack has got a lot of momentum. So he pulled right up behind McMurray, shot him past him.
He's come from the back. He had to start shotgun on the field after his car wouldn't start. Here he is racing for the lead.
Well, give a call to Newt Moore and the guys for Bruco, Clarence Brewer and company that own that 37 car. That is one strong horse.
Well, I talked to Jamie McMurray, and he said, hey, man, I don't lay back. I'm not going to go to the back of the pack. I'm going to the front. He said they crash all over this place, in the front, the middle, and the back, so he's not one of these guys believing that.
Shannon?
Well, that's right. Crew Chief Newt Moore told me earlier this week that the biggest thing that makes him most concerned about these restrictor plate tracks is getting past the first 20 laps. He said that is key. Before that, he's nervous. Well, guys, they're on lap 30, and Jamie McMurray is showing what he's got in that car, coming all the way from the back of the field and making his move to the front.
All right, Clint Boyer and the Busch boys are back in town here in Daytona. Summer Speed Weeks, the sizzle of NASCAR Busch Series racing here in the morning. Back at Daytona. In 5 previous starts here at Daytona, Clint Boyer had led a total of 11 laps. He has now led twice today for 18 laps here early on in this one. Now, one of the cars we were following early on was Dale Earnhardt Jr., who, as Rusty mentioned, just set sail from his 35th starting spot all the way into the top 15. But he might be driving this car a little bit too hard early on. I mean, he is absolutely just climbing toward the front. But here's what happened just a moment ago.
He just gets in the car, gets in the corner just a little too hot, a little too high. And look at him marking that wall up. Right rear tire hitting it about 3 times. And boy, I tell you what, he probably knocked in that right rear quarter panel. That's not good for downforce.
Well, it's not Darlington, but it sure does look like it. These guys up there just kissing the wall right there. That shouldn't hurt it too bad unless it gets a tire rub. I think it'll be okay.
Shannon, you got more?
Doc, you know, Dale Jr. sitting in that number 88 car, his car for the first time ever. The team had sort of started planning for a driver change. Shane Huffman was the original driver of that car this season. They had contacted Chevy, they had contacted Budweiser. Everyone was sort of in on it and said, okay, if this happens at some point during the season, whether if Shane is injured, sick, if they need to make a driver change, they can do so. The only people that weren't on board was the Navy. So on Tuesday, when Dale Jr. came in and said that he was going to be in that car, they gave the Navy a call, and you know, sometimes the government can be a little bit slow in getting things done. Not this time. 20 minutes later, they got a call back. The Navy said, go ahead, put Dale Jr. in the car.
And Shannon, we confirmed a couple of days ago in the garage area. In fact, our Andy Petrie down there, our own inside sleuth, found out that they were indeed talking to Brad Keselowski. And word is that they're going to probably hire him to run at least 3 events starting at Chicagoland next week.
Yeah, that young guy's going to get him a good chance in the car. And Dale Jr. likes to look at these young guys and try to find some emerging talent so he can cultivate it in his team.
He's got to be really feeling good about that, Brad does. I mean, to be sitting at home and get a phone call and say, hey, Dale Jr.'s looking at me, guys. That'd put a little extra step in you, wouldn't it?
Yes, that young man deserves a shot like that. He did an awfully good job in equipment that wasn't exactly what these guys have here up front. Speaking of up front, Clint Boyer showing the way here in the BB&T Chevrolet. We check in his pits with Dave.
And Jerry Richard Childress found a great young driver in a dirt late model a couple of years ago, and that is Clint Boyer, who has made a name for himself now in Busch Series racing and Nextel Cup. Listen to he and his crew talking about how to race and lead here at Daytona.
That means we're fast. As far as I can tell right now, Clint, they can get a little bit, but if you keep running the line you're running, I don't think anybody can get you unless they get a bunch of them lined up. Let me know when they get close enough to block them.
And as Kyle Busch now goes around, you see Clint didn't make much of a move right there to try to block Kyle at this point, but Mike Dillon, his spotter, and Clint working on how to communicate and make sure they know when Clint's car can get pretty wide to try to keep the lead. Now the Toyota of Leffler, can't see from that angle. Blaney goes by as well.
Exactly, Dave. And how strong is that Hendrick engine in the 5 car? He just motored right on by and pulled away by 3 or 4 car lengths. The Toyota of Dave Blaney, you heard Dave Burns say Blaney is good up top. And the 21 car of Kevin Harvick, my heavens. Now, guys, folks, he restarted in 25th position after that competition yellow, and he's up there just battling for the lead.
Now, the big thing is that they got their car, they had an opportunity to work on it on that last pit stop, and looks like they've made the car a lot better. Here comes Kevin now back to the front. He was so loose in that first run that he just had to back out of it and go back to the about 20th spot. But they got her fixed up now. He's running good.
Mike Massaro.
And Doc, one of the problems that Kevin Harvick encountered was on pit road. We saw the snarled up traffic. That created a domino effect. He fell back to 25th. But one thing that may be helping him and the rest of his RCR teammates is an alliance they formed about 2 months ago with Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. Today is the first time that those cars are using the hybrid Dale Earnhardt Incorporated RCR motor, and it appears to be working. I talked to Shane Wilson this morning, and he said as good as we were in February, we're better with this motor package. Shannon?
Well, Mike, back in February, Dave Blaney finished second here at this track. He's had a little bit of a string of bad luck in the past few weeks. He said this is the place that he hopes to turn that around, and looking in that mirror right now, he's seeing what he likes. That is his teammate, Jason Leffler. Throughout this entire race so far, his crew chief, Trent Owens, has been coming over the radio to Dave Blaney and letting him know where those Toyotas are and where those Braun Racing cars are, letting him know where his help is on the track.
Shannon, you're exactly right. All 4 Toyotas qualifying in the top 12. We have Toyotas, 2 of them in the top 5 with Blaney third and the pole sitter Leffler back in 5th place. Awfully stout engines, and could we see the first win ever for Toyota in NASCAR Busch Series?
You can definitely see the first win, Jerry. We know these guys got a lot of power, and one good thing about it, you can put a lot of power in any car, but unless they got a good team that knows how to make this car handle, they're not going to get it done. Now, Jason Leffler's team, that Braun Racing team, is really good at what they're doing, so I think they could probably pull one off for Toyota if they keep this baby clean today.
We see a lot of these guys searching around on the racetrack for a better line, and we see the high groove coming in. And Dale Jr. in that 88, I've seen him just really flirting with that wall again and again. So that groove is just creeping up and up.
Guys, we talked about all these cars and drivers who are major factors early in the race. Who haven't we talked about yet? There's one name that's significantly missing from this, and I think he's the guy that may be leading the points.
Yeah, Carl Edwards. He has really just been kind of hanging out there, not really doing a whole lot. Running 23rd mid-pack. Maybe this is part of his strategy just to kind of hang back, but he's about halfway up there now. But these guys are not going to take their eye off of him. They always watch this guy.
You know, one thing to remember, too, guys, is that the track is really starting to change right now. We're 22 laps since these guys have pitted. We've all talked about these cars handling going away between lap 20 and 30. And as I'm watching the race right now, it's really starting to spread out. You can tell there are cars on the top and on the bottom, and that could be happening to Carl. Although I believe at the end of this race, he's pretty good, and his team is too. He'll be right back up in there. You're not gaining nothing by trying to charge for the lead right now.
And we see they're really strung out. We got Mike Wallace in the 7 we were just riding with, and they're not running in these big packs 2 and 3 wide. What's going on down there with the 7, Dave?
Well, that's the plan right now, Andy. Remember, we reported at the beginning of the race to the rear of the field at the start for an unapproved adjustment. What happened to them was they had their oil warming up in the car like everyone else this morning, and there was a malfunction in the reading on the oil heater. It overheated all the oil, basically cooked the oil. The team said, you know what, we don't want to take a chance. We're going to empty the oil out, replace every drop of it, and that's what they did. That's an unapproved adjustment. They had to start at the back of the field. Mike said, yeah, we had qualified 30th, but I'd still like to not have to drop to the back of the field to start the race. Hanging back there now, will make his move later on.
You can really overheat that oil. That's real easy to do. They got these super heaters in there so they can heat it up quickly, but if it gets hung up, then they have to change it because it burns the oil up.
All right, we are 6 laps away from the halfway point here. The 3 Bs, Busch, Boyer, and Blaney leading the way here at Daytona Beach. Back with more live coverage in just a moment.
Very quickly approaching the halfway point of today's Winn Dixie 250 for the NASCAR Busch Series. ESPN Live at Daytona International Speedway. A little morning racing after the rainout of last night. And Kyle Busch being challenged by Clint Boyer for the top spot. Let's catch up on what's happened so far in the race. Our race rundown started last night when, it got ugly here.
It did. The bottom fell out, and we had to sit and do a little talking. Got to visit with some folks, but we're back here today, ready to roll.
When the race did start, Bobby Labonte, one of the hopefuls to come from the back of the pack, lap 9. Car jumps out of gear on him. Nice move by Kyle Krisaloff to avoid a big pileup there. Labonte has since continued, but he's running 31st right now. Caution at lap 20, mandatory for NASCAR. Kyle Busch with a little pass in the grass.
Kyle makes it 3 wide off of pit road. I don't think he's supposed to do that, but they gave him a warning. It will not happen again.
More on that in just a moment. Meanwhile, for Scott Wimmer, he stalled his car on the pit stop. They couldn't get it refired. Eventually did. Wimmer has rejoined the action, but he is well back in the field instead of being a contender for a top spot. Now watch this squeeze off turn 2 a couple minutes ago. That's Tony Stewart on the bottom, Juan Pablo Montoya in the middle. They come up on a lap car, Eric McClure. You'll see him on the inside. Whoa, look out. Watch the outside with Casey Kane. And Junior saying thank you, and Montoya saying
I like you too. You're number 1.
Yeah. Let's
go high line.
Let's run up top. So Montoya now has moved himself up into the 8th spot after that close call a minute ago. And in the meantime, Kyle Busch continuing to fend off the challenges of Clint Boyer. Now, we talked about Kyle and his little pass in the grass. This came on his team radio under the caution just after the pit stop.
You gonna do what you did in February, just see how far? Yeah, it's time to lap the field. Hey, well, we got a minute. Stay off the grass when we leave pit road. All right, roger that.
Well, Alan, it's hard to believe that at 22 years old, Kyle Busch is making his 100th start in the Busch Series. His crew chief, Alan Gustafson, keeps coming over the radio and telling him that number 2 car, Clint Boyer, is right behind him. But he told Kyle, when he gets to you, he can't do anything with you. So how's the car right now? He was battling a little bit of a tight condition earlier in the race. Right now, he came over the radio, told Alan Gustafson, we're chilling, man. We're chilling. Doc?
All right, thank you very much, Shannon. Up front, they are sailing single file, but guys, as Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer, Dave Blaney, and Kevin Harvick try to settle it among themselves, guys, don't look in that mirror too far back because that 88 is coming. There comes Dale Earnhardt Jr., the only 2-time winner here in the 5 summer NASCAR Busch Series events, and he came all the way from 35th starting spot. Here's a move by Blaney in the Toyota again on the inside. Whoa. Trouble, the 99 car. David Rudiman has had contact, heavy damage on the front of his Camry as 3 cars spinning off of turn 4 here in the short shoot.
Out, guys.
And Stephen Wallace involved in the 66. Just past the halfway point, heavy damage. The whole front of that car shoved in.
Yeah, we heard him say that we're done, and when you hit that hard, that's pretty hard to fix. They're probably not get that car back out.
Now here is Stephen.
Cross the front, David.
Here's Stephen Wallace, the Home Life Communities Dodge. Now, before this broke loose, Stephen Wallace, who was making his way through the field, had a brush with the wall. There's Stephen. Did he cut a tire? Maybe that little brush with the wall, get enough fender in against a tire. Now, that was just a seconds before this happened. You see the 66 car on the right of your screen slowing down.
Yeah, we see a little bit of a wiggle. Then he chases it and just loses it. Looks like the tire did go down. Oh, and that 99 car, David Rudiman, just in the wrong place at the wrong time. We got some big evasive moves coming here.
Yeah, Mike Bliss, the 22 car moves, slides to avoid it. Stephen Wallace trying to hang on, Rusty.
He's trying to hang on right now, Jerry, but we're watching the car as it came down pit road a little while ago, and it looks like the car's not hurt. Well, it caved in pretty good behind the left front tire. The right side's not hurt. That might be able to get that car back out there.
On board with David Rudiman.
A lot worse from that angle for sure. That was a pretty hard lick.
And leaders are on pit road, Shannon.
Well, Kyle Busch is going to pull that car in just a little bit short of his full pit stop just because he wants to give Bobby Labonte in that number 77 some room. They're just going to do 4 tires and fuel. The car's fine. They're going to hand Kyle a bottle of water also because it's a little hot in there. Jamie?
Well, Juan Pablo Montoya, as you guys saw, squeezing his competitors up to the wall. They're all tight. He said he was dying. He wanted to come in. They're making a wedge adjustment, and there's things going on next to him in that 33 car, Tony Raines. Let's go to Mike.
Kevin Harvick a little bit loose in and a little bit tight off. They're going to make a wedge adjustment on the left rear, taking a round out, and a slow stop here for Kevin Harvick, having some trouble with the left rear. Let's go to Dave.
Mike, the car that turned too easily before the first round of adjustments would not turn during that last run for Clint Bowyer. So they put the adjustments back halfway, both on the chassis and the air pressure, to try to get Clint's car to turn again.
And the 21, as you heard Mike say, they were having trouble with the left rear. He is still on pit road after coming from the back of the pack all the way to the 4th spot. He's going to have to go back and do it all over again. Kevin Harvick said he was loose in and tied off. They were making a wedge adjustment. That's not what slowed him down. It was that left rear tire. And so now the guy who won it in February will be at the back of the pack when we go back to Green Flag Racing. Caution for the second time of day. Hard impact. Stephen Wallace and David Ruderman. And welcome back to Daytona. We are under caution for the second time today. An incident here on lap 51 involving the 66 car of Stephen Wallace sliding across right in front of David Ruderman after cutting a tire. Big story, Kevin Harvick, who came from the back of the pack earlier to 4th on pit road for a lengthy pit stop and Mike problems with the left rear.
That's exactly right, Doc. As you know, on these restrictor plate cars, they really try to tighten up those wheel wells, trying to increase the aerodynamics. And it appears that may have been the problem here.
What happened there, Shane? I got the left rear wheel openings too tight on the front. We need to come in and cut it out, so when we come down for the last stop, there is one we can do the job we need to do. And just get it right. We can still win this thing.
And there's the confidence you expect to hear from a driver who was absolutely perfect here in Daytona back in February, guys.
Well, the confidence of a champion who knows his team, knows his race car, and more importantly, knows what can happen at this racetrack. He's now being shown, you know, the 21 car all the way back in 33rd position.
That's amazing, though. They have the left rear wheel opening so tight that they got to come down and cut it out. They've changed tires all week long in practice. You would have thought they would have found that, Andy.
It's all about the details, Rusty. They got to get this car, like you say, as slick as they can get it and try to get these wheel wells as tight as possible. But then what they do for the race, they tighten these chains up so the tires come off the ground quickly, and that probably just held the tire up in the hole a little bit too far.
Yeah, here's Eric Almirola back on pit road. Hard to call him a lucky dog when they're looking at the front of the car. They're trying to get some work on it. Dave Rogers and company, but he was the first car a lap down and was the recipient of the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. And now, Andy, they're working on that damaged front grille. Yeah,
they're scrambling here trying to get the aerodynamics back and get it where they can cool the engine and maybe even try to get up there and start doing some racing instead of just hanging around the back. They lost a lap because they couldn't keep up with the crowd there. If they can get it fixed, they can start moving their way back to the front.
All right, he is down and away at 55 miles an hour. Let's take a look at our Castrol GTX lap leaders as we are 55 laps now, 46 laps to go. And you will see that Clint Bowyer, who had led just 11 laps in his career here at Daytona, has already led 22 today. Kyle Busch picking up where he left off in February. He has led 20. Kevin Harvick, who led early on, led the first lap in the first 12. Tony Raines has been up front in the 33 car. And Donnie Neuenberger, who's already back in the garage area in Jimmy Means' car, did lead a lap early on here under the caution. All right, let's take a look at our Crown Royal crowning moment. It involves our points leader, Carl Edwards. Now watch what he does from his onboard camera here. There's the accident taking place coming off of turn 4. Somewhere in that smoke and the debris of spinning cars, Carl Edwards comes right through it and just sails along. Now from the onboard camera.
Yeah, this is a shot I got to watch right here because he did a great job driving through that smoke. Thank gosh for him, the smoke started clearing just a little bit. Look at that. Back to the left, back to the right. Boy, he weaved right through it. He definitely deserves that award, that's for sure, Jerry.
So, kudos to Carl Edwards for that Crown Royal crowning moment. Let's check in where Mike is caught up with Stephen Wallace.
Ejected Stephen Wallace it is as he's retreated now to his transporter. What happened?
Well, you know, the dang home line community's dodged pretty good today. You know, we were in top 15 there for a while right behind Reed and my buddies, and just went into turn one. Just barely ticked the wall. You know, Dale Jr. hit it a couple times, and a bunch of guys were hitting and didn't have any tire problems. And I barely hit the wall, and I just guessed it laid the right rear quarter panel down on the tire, and they ran a couple laps, went to 3, and then the right rear tire blew off of it. I spun out and got hit pretty hard. I hate it for my guys, my team. You know, we had a pretty good car, and you know, John Bean, everybody, we're all working hard. So we'll, you know, Daytona's a big crapshoot anyway. You know, I was trying to go to the front. You can either go to the front, ride in the back, or get wrecked. So one or the other. So like I was trying to go to the front and just you know, totally misfortunate. But I hate it for David Rudin and all them guys too. But we'll get them.
Well, this is chassis number 7, guys, but it appears for Stephen Wallace, it's pretty unlucky they crashed in Talladega as well with this car. Guys?
All right, thank you very much, Mike, as we are set to go back to green flag racing. 45 laps to go. And Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer, Jason Leffler, our pole sitter, and Greg Biffle now in the 16 car being shown among the top 5 along with Dave Blaney. As we check in the pit studio with the big fella, Brad Doherty.
Andy Petrie now, that last pit stop, would you be thinking possibly to adjust your car for a nice long run because you don't have to stop again for gas? What are your thoughts?
Well, Brad, you want to try to get this car to handle as good as possible because we can see the track's getting hotter and hotter. These guys are probably going to get a long run here because it'll get strung out. If it goes green here for a little while, you'll see this track really grease up and these cars spread out a little bit. So, yeah, we can see a long run.
All right, a couple of Toyotas hooking up together. The 38 car, that's Leffler, and the 10 behind him. Those are our teammates, Toyota-powered, same engine builder. So you got a couple of Chevys and a couple of Toyotas as they line up single file there. And on the high line, you got the Ford of Biffle. Now, here goes Leffler looking up high on the outside of Boyer.
Now, that's one thing you got to look at. Look at Greg Biffle on the top of the track. He's got Jamie McMurray behind him, a teammate. We haven't been talking about Biffle much today, but he's in the top 5. And this guy knows how to get it done here at Daytona, that's for sure. And he's got Leffler pulling him, and that a lot of Toyota power in the hood of that car.
And they got the good tires on the car right now, so the cars are handling real well. We'll see them run 2 and 3 wide here for a few laps, and then we'll see how it sorts out.
Tell you what, we were watching the Jamie McMurray car and saw all the tear-offs fly off the right side of the window, and those are the things that we have big problems with a lot. If they get on the radiators of a lot of these cars, you'll see problems.
You see those bumps too. The cars really hit a lot of bumps at Daytona, and that's a hard thing for these guys to handle, especially when track starts getting slick.
Leffler has moved up to lead that high line in front of Biffle. Meanwhile, the lower line now has one Tony Stewart lining up behind Busch and Boyer.
They're still toying with 3 wide right now because you got fresh tires and they can do it. But boy, the track temperatures are coming up. Track's getting slicker, and also the water temperatures are probably getting higher now because we've started this race in about 80 degrees. It's approaching about 92 outside right now.
Juan Pablo Montoya, that big star, that big Texaco Havoline star, he got right in the middle of him, Andy, going down the back straightaway, starting to put that car in the middle in a 3-wide sandwich. And behind him, good run for the Geico Chevy for Mike Wallace.
They're trying to form a line on the outside so they can get a run on these guys. We saw them trying to line up and get single file at the front, so the guys form a line on the outside, said, not going to have any of that. We got good tires. We want to race right now.
Dave Burns.
And that is a race-winning car. You know, that was a car that Dale Earnhardt Jr. won here back in 2006 last year, and they just repainted it, bought it, repainted it, put a different motor in it, of course, but that's a winning race car, and Mike feels that he can get to the front. He's doing so now.
And here comes Carl Edwards. He sailed through that crash a little bit ago. And we haven't mentioned much about the 9 car of Casey Kane, who's we thought last night he would have a pretty good run. As you look across at Carl Edwards' car, moving down on the inside of a scratched-up Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Carl Edwards was patient early in the race, but it looks like he's getting a little racy right now.
Well, 41 to go right now, guys. They're thinking, well, you know what? We hung back there for a while, got a little patient. I'm starting to get a little nervous right now. Let's get back an accelerator and make some things happen.
All right, with more on Carl Edwards, let's check in with Mike.
Well, Doc, just before that last round of pit stops, Carl Edwards was adamant on the radio, complaining about the car, how tight it was. Well, they made some significant adjustments on pit road, going up 2 rounds on the track bar. He feels like the car is now coming to life as he moves to the front.
Guys, 2 rounds on the track bar. What are they trying to do?
They're trying to, like you say, when you change the handle of the car, they got a track bar is just a rod that goes across there and holds the rear end in the car, but you raise it and lower it, it really affects the way the car handles, especially getting in the corner. So these guys kind of move this stuff around and make their cars handle better. Got a lot of wrenches they can turn on them.
All right, Carl Edwards down on the inside. That's David Gilliland in the 25 car in the middle. You see Casey Kane in the 9 car up high. Now Carl Edwards getting a little bit of help from David Reagan, his Roush Fenway teammate in the 6 car on the bottom of the draft. 39 laps to go here at Daytona. After a 12-hour delay because of rain, Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer, Dave Blaney and company have set sail. Back in just a moment.
Ouch. On a beautiful day here in Daytona Beach, Florida, looking down on the Daytona International Speedway, site of a doubleheader. Today, a day-night doubleheader. The NASCAR Busch Series running now, and our aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping drivers get to the finish line for the past 25 years. Kyle Busch out in front with his Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. He's been the man that's done most of the leading today. Clint Boyer in the 2 car for Richard Childress has been right there with him, but not able to get past him. Remember that Kyle Busch dominated this race back in February, the last time the NASCAR Busch Series ran here, but broke a fuel pump and did not finish the race that day. It's been a season of frustration in the Busch Series for Kyle Busch so far. Brad, he's been fast, but he hasn't gotten any trophies to show for it.
You're absolutely right, Alan. I mean, he started out the season just right out of the truck flying, and he has just not had any luck on his side. But once he gets a little bit of luck into that race car and into his karma, he's going to win a bunch of races this season. I still think there's plenty of time, maybe starting today, for him to get some wins.
A couple interesting stories a little bit back in the field. Remember, Kevin Harvick had that problem on the last pit stop, dropped from 4th to 33rd. He's trying to creep his way back up through. He just cracked the top 10 into the number 10 spot and trying to gain more. And Casey Mears is back in the pack as well, and we really haven't seen him all day, and I'm kind of curious whether he's just been hanging out back there or if his car's just not as strong as his Hendrick teammate who's been doing all the leading.
I think he's just been sitting back there playing a little possum, just riding, checking everything out. It looks like he's starting to make a little bit of a move and start inching towards that front as we get closer to 30 laps to go.
Dave, you tell us what's going on with that 24 car?
Yeah, Brad, he wishes that was why he was running in the back of the pack right now. Unfortunately, that car has been so difficult to turn that they've spent lengthy time on pit road making adjustments, but also pulling out that right front fender just a little bit. I went up to Chad Walter and I said, did you have contact on pit road or something? He said, no, we were just that tight. We had to pull the fender out just a tad to try to get that car to turn better in the turns.
So 2/3 of the way through the race, Doc, it's getting a little bit wild up there in that top 10.
It is. Alan, they are scrambling down as you watch Kyle Busch trying to pull away. And watch this battle now, 3 wide. That is Tony Stewart in the 18, Blaney in the 10. And there's Juan Pablo giving Tony a bit of a shove entering the corner.
Montoya's doing a great job out there. You know, he had a big crash here in February. But boy, today he has got that thing running. You see McMurray get right behind him. Whoa! And I'll tell you what, that's what happens when you're in the center and you got a guy right behind you getting you loose. Now, I guarantee you, when he gets down to the next corner, he won't want to try that trick again.
We sound like the boys' choir, all going, whoa, at one time.
I was just getting ready to say how good his car was handling. I've been watching him all week, and his car just looked so good. And I'm glad I didn't say it right before that, because it did. Maybe he's just driving it that hard.
Hey, meanwhile, watch that 21 car. Yes, again, Kevin Harvick has driven, as you heard Alan Bestwick say, from the back of the pack all the way back into this fray up here, right in behind the 9 car. For more on Kevin Arnold, let's check in with Mike.
Well, Doc, you heard the confidence in Kevin Harvick's voice when we played the radio transmission. Well, maybe that's because that car has 9 lives. They had the problem on pit road, and then just most recently, an alternator problem. They were losing voltage, but Kevin turned down some of the switches, and the car has had no problem since. Still very much a contender this afternoon.
If that alternator's not charging, they're going to have to rely on the battery. And to save the juice in the battery, they'll turn off a lot of things. And maybe this thing, it's a short race, so maybe everything will hold out to the end of the race, even if the alternator is not working properly.
From your From your experience, can it hang on for 31 laps?
Yeah, it depends on how big the battery is in the car. I've always been one of the guys that loves these big, huge batteries. Some of the guys run small batteries, and they don't have a lot of reserve. But if he's got a big enough battery, it'll hold up.
Yeah, a lot of the guys, just like you said, they run these batteries are very, very tiny for weight conscious, which is something I don't understand at all. They put all the weight in the left-hand side of the car, a little bit in the right-hand side of the car, but then they take the most important thing in the car and put a little tiny battery in there. Doesn't make much sense.
All right, let's show you at home exactly what we're talking about as we go down to our Chevy Cutaway car with Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Jerry. What you're going to look at right here, folks, radiator fan, we got blower fans, we've got all kinds of miscellaneous stuff right here. In that car right now, the only thing's going to be facing up is the ignition switch carrying the power there, but I'm like Rusty. I'd rather have batteries, big battery, 2 batteries even. That tungsten, it's good for ballast, but that battery, it'll get you to the end of the race. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Tim, very much. Now we know exactly that all the switches are off except for one, and one that's off the pace is the 16. You know, Greg Biffle was having a good run, was shown as high as 3rd early on, but now he is coasting on the apron.
Can you take him to the garage? Yep, I'll take her to the garage for you. Perfect. So check it out, guys.
Mike?
And Greg Biffle slowing down, headed to the garage. He thinks he broke a shock guy, and at this racetrack, that could be terminal.
I'll tell you what, you're out there running close to 200 like these guys are doing, and you think you've got a broken shock. The first indication is the car, the handlings went away. The car's jumping all over the racetrack, and he doesn't like driving it like that.
Oh, you see the car bouncing. These guys don't run for points either, so yeah, he's put his hand out the window saying, hey guys, try to avoid me here. I'm just going to try to get off the racetrack.
Man, I thought that thing was going to jump clear off the ground in the right front corner. That didn't look good at all.
Yeah, driving like a school bus at 200 miles an hour can't feel good for Greg Biffle, so he's going to head to the garage area. Eddie Perdue and company are already headed that way. Well, they are chasing Kyle Busch just like back in February. Can Kyle Busch avoid the gremlins and hang on? We'll find out in a moment. Well, from high atop this mammoth facility here in Daytona International Speedway, you can see that we are under caution for the 3rd time, and they're picking up debris along the pit entranceway. It had been hit by a car and sort of shuffled into a lot of smaller pieces, but we have put the race under yellow for the 3rd time so they can clean up the racetrack down entering or exiting turn 4.
It's going to be an opportunity for these guys to get tires. See that group bunch back up, and we'll have some good racing here for this last 25 laps.
All right, who are the takers? Will they come? Will they not? Commitment they do make as they head down toward you. Shannon?
All right, well, Kyle Busch has complained that the car is a little tight, so his crew chief, Alan Gustafson, who's from about 10 miles north of Daytona Beach, has called for an air pressure adjustment, 4 tires, and fuel. Jamie.
Tony Stewart said he is so tight, he's tight on the straightaways. He came in, now they're going to make a wedge adjustment, half turn out of that right rear. They're adding tape on that grill to get some downforce and some air pressure. Let's go to Mike.
Pay attention to the left rear. That's where Kevin Harvick and his team had problems last stop. It appears to be clean now. No problems. 4 tires and fuel. Dave.
Jason Leffler on pit road. Crew around to the left side now. Air pressure increasing in the rear. Try to give him some more grip in this car. Got loose near the end of the run. He came in 9th position. Still waiting on the left front as he heads off pit road.
All right, great coverage, guys. And here's the race off pit road. Mike Wallace, Jerry Kennan and company gaining 12 spots. J.J. Yaley in the 1 car up 13 spots. Carl Evers gained the spot. Dave Blaney in the Toyota, a loser of 8 positions. He came in 2nd, came out in 10th position.
Yeah, we'll have to get it confirmed, but it probably took right side tires on both those Phoenix teammates' cars.
Well, if they did on the 7 cars, you're right along with Mike Wallace. You got to wonder if that was a good call, as the 7 car probably took right side tires only. Great pit work. Let's listen and watch in as Mike Hicks, the front tire changer on the 47 car, goes to work here in what could be the final stop of the day. You don't think these guys earn their money on pit road? They do one heck of a job. Back with a restart in a moment. And we welcome you back to the Winn Dixie 250. We are less than 25 laps away from the checkered flag as we check in and visit now with our in-race reporter, Kevin Harvick.
Hey, Kevin, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got me?
4.
Hey, is the car pretty loose right now? You've made yourself from the back to the front, from the front to the back, and it's getting hotter out there. What's it handling like now?
It's pretty slick. I mean, coming off the corners, we're just losing rear grip, but we've had all kinds of problems today and been able to put ourselves in position here at the end. So we'll see what happens with our AutoZone Chevrolet. You know, you're trying to get the balance of the car through the corners here. You're tight right in the middle of the corner, and then as soon as that thing takes a bite, it gets loose up off the corner. So I think we got a shot at it here. We're going to give her hell and see what happens.
All right, man. Thanks for talking to us.
Hey, Shane, it's Andy Petrie. What in the world did you guys do to that car where you could get that tire on there?
We just trimmed a little piece of metal out, and that thing made a world of difference on that last stop. And the guys, we've been battling all day, and the guys had a good pit stop there at the end, so we're going to try to win this thing.
Hey, that was a great recovery. You guys were up there and got a shot at it. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, let's check in when Mike is caught up with Greg Biffle.
And a promising day for Greg Biffle. He was up to 4th at one point, but it appears a shock problem has terminated your day. What happened?
Yeah, the 3M Fusion car was really good, and the shock cross member that both the shocks bolt to broke in the rear of the car. So that's a pretty major component of the chassis that the weld broke, and it looks like it's loose in there. So don't think we're going to be able to get it fixed and get back out there. It's unfortunate. The car was driving real well. I think I learned some stuff for tonight, and just unfortunate. The guys, great pit stops to pick me up 4 or 5 spots every time, and just unfortunate we're sidelined for the day.
Well, guys, Greg obviously disappointed, but if there is a silver lining, this keeps him a little bit more refreshed for tonight's event. Dave?
Mike, everyone wondered what the 7 car did. 2 tires, right sides only. Jerry Kinnan, crew chief, telling me that car needs to be out front in clean air. That's when it's the fastest. We're going to give Mike that chance to run it out there. He ran down a pack earlier. We know he can do it.
All right, Dave, thank you very much. That's exactly what happened to Mike Wallace in July of 2004. He led 1 lap all day, but it was the last one. He was there when they made that mad scramble. Speaking of scrambles, here they go, trying to sail by Mike, headed to turn 1. There goes Harvick in 3rd spot.
Well, I tell you, it looks like they hung him out to dry on that one, as we call it, Jerry. And Mike's going right through the center because he doesn't have anybody to draft with. Now, once he gets back in line, we'll see how those 2 tires hold on.
With just 22 laps to go, you're going to see these guys now starting to race really hard. You're not going to see anybody laying back. You're going to see everything they've got. Tony Stewart's sitting in the catbird seat right now. He's sitting in a position to challenge Kyle Busch.
Yeah, shuffle back in the pack. Boyer's back here. Now, Tony Stewart, you heard Jamie Little say Stewart complained his car was so tight, it was tight on the straightaways. He said, guys, major changes, and that's what Jason Ratcliffe did, is loosen him up on that stop.
Now, that's one thing about that 18 car. The fenders are pretty narrow on the front of it, and the wider the fenders are, the more downforce you have. So he's made a decision to go with this real slippery car here at Daytona in these slick conditions. If anybody can pull it off, it's Stewart.
And they shuffle all behind this lead 5, some 6 cars, single file, and behind them all 1 car out of shape. That is Jamie McMurray. Can he hang on? No, he's sideways and spins it around. Can he keep
the brake right there if you can hold her straight? He got hit in the sideboards from the 1 car.
That was almost a huge wreck right there.
Get her going. We're going to put 4 on it. 4 tires here.
I'll tell you what, he's got to keep that thing rolling. It's like getting stuck in the mud or stuck in the snow, man. If it stops, it's not going. He's got the momentum going right now. He did a good job not killing the motor. Let's take a look at this car, guys. A little bit of damage on the right front fender, not much, nothing I think it'll affect it. And we know one thing. We know McMurray can come from the back to the front because he showed us that earlier.
He's already done it once. He's going to have to try it again.
All right, let's see if we can see what happened. He heard the spotter say he got it tapped by the 1 car in the side. Let's see if that contact. There's the contact.
It looked like Jamie's the one that got into the 1 car.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't think the 1 car did anything, did he? It looks like Jamie drove up into him.
Yeah, J.J. Yaley minding his own business and felt a bump and then saw the 37 car sliding beside him. That was a nice job there. That's very wet grass, and somehow he managed to get that car stopped before he got to the concrete wall on the inside.
Just see these cars just fighting for position, and not enough room there for him to get clear.
Well, I tell you what, when you're getting loose, that's one thing. But when that baby changed directions and the front end is pointing at the wall, man, as a driver, you're holding on. And now as you're getting through that, you see the inside wall coming, so you're steering that thing all you can. You're on the brake, off the brake. And how in the world he spun that car out and kept the motor running. Good job, man. I'll tell you, good job out of McMurray.
These guys are just jockeying for position here late in the race, trying to get in the right lane.
Try to come low, come low, come low. There you go, Greg. Stay in the gas. Keep going. Clear high. Get back up there.
Boy, great job by by Clint Boyer in the 2 car and the 24 of Casey Mears. Here's the 29 of Wimmer. Watch what he saw.
Clear, clear. Easy. Come on. Atta-way, buddy, atta-way. Caution's out. Good job, man.
You can hear these spotters trying to help these guys through that.
All right, pit road is open. The leaders will stay on the racetrack for the final 20 laps. And we'll take a quick break and come back with what should be a typical Daytona Beach shootout here to the checkered flag.
Back at Daytona International Speedway, coming down to trophy time. 18 laps to go. We're less than a lap from the restart. Here's a look at our Castrol lap leaders. As we close in on the finish of this race, it has been Kyle Busch who's been the man out in front most of the day. Clint Boyer spent a lot of time out front in the first half of the race, though he has lately fallen off the pace and been shuffled back just a little bit. Well, the lucky dog is Eric Almirola. He gets the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. That's the 3rd time today he's gotten that?
Got to take advantage of that.
That's really lucky for Eric today. Still soldiering on with that damaged front end. Not so lucky Bobby Labonte had the car popping out of gear at lap 9, then on the caution, then came down for a pit stop, and yeah.
Well, he's just had a tough day today. We thought Bobby was going to come from the back to the front and be a contender, but it's just been a tough day.
Driver who won the last restrictor plate race at Talladega, but the Kevin Harvick Incorporated crew having all kinds of problems. A couple guys you want to think about before we see these last 17 laps?
Well, I think Kevin Harvick obviously is going to come to the front. Also, I'm looking at the 4th spot there. Casey Kane's having a good run. But look who's in 5th. Carl Edwards has snuck back in to the lead group. I think he's going to be a contender once this thing's over.
Hasn't been anybody past Kyle Busch on the track in a while. We'll see if they can do it in the last 17. Shannon?
Well, Bobby Labonte decided to bring that car back down because under the last pit stop, they made an air pressure adjustment, and it just really badly affected the handling of the car. They said he was really tight, and then all of a sudden it would snap loose, brought him back down pit road, and that's when he had that jack problem.
All right, thank you very much, Shannon. And what kind of luck has Kyle Busch had at this racetrack? Well, he has run 7 NASCAR Busch Series events. He has never had a top 5 or a top 10. He's led a ton of laps, including 46 today, but something has always happened. Young Kyle has never gotten a top 10. Could his luck change here today? Green flag, 17 laps to go here at Daytona in the NASCAR Busch Series. It is Busch, Stewart, Harvick, and Casey Kane.
He's had it his way so far, but he's going to have his hands full right now with just 17 laps to go. These guys are hungry behind him.
Well, hold on right now, guys, because this is crunch time. We're talking 17 to go. They're going to be running 3 wide. They're out of time right now. They got to get the job done. No hanging back in the back of the pack. It's throttle down. Go for it. And look at Leffler up against a 24 car, roughing him up already. These guys are messing with the yellow line in the bottom. They're all over the place.
Yeah, J.J. Yaley back there in the 1 car trying to hold the bottom groove. Carl Edwards got in front of him. That's Edwards you see in front of him. Carl now being shown in the 6th position. And to the right, you'll see there he comes. There is Jason Leffler's 38 car trying to move by and take the position away. By the way, Yaley just changed 2 tires in that last pit stop. These other guys got forward. He's trying to hang on, but it looks like Leffler and Mears are sailing by.
Just those 2 tires on the car, he's going to have to pull his gloves up to his elbows to get up on that wheel.
Man,
hang on to it.
You're exactly right, Andy. I'll tell you what, this track is so slick. You want 4 Goodyear Eagles in that car for all the grip you can possibly get. Look at them off that turn. Dyson back and forth. I mean, they're missing each other by inches right now. You can tell they're in a hurry.
Little squeeze play, 41 car. Reed Sorensen up there making a move.
Yeah, it looks like the 25 car, David Gillian, is pretty loose in that center lane. You saw the back of the car walking around, moving up.
And you see these cars dancing around.
Well, these guys, Andy, they would run on the bottom of the track if they could.
All right, up front, you watch these guys getting a little bit itchy up front. Will Tony Stewart be the first to pull the trigger? Kevin Harvick, who's come from the back to the front, from the back to the front, now back to the front. That's hard to say 3 times. And here comes Juan Pablo Montoya in the hunt. Boy, anybody can win this thing. 15 laps to go. These guys all single file, all on the lead lap. We have 35 cars still on the lead lap at Daytona. It is anybody's race. And side by side, Harvick is the first guy to make a move.
Yeah, we're waiting for somebody to make a move, and Kevin Harvick's the first guy to do it, and that spreads them out.
And Blaney's got that Toyota on the bottom wound up. You saw Tony Stewart slide all the way to the top of the track. Casey Mears making it 3 wide on the bottom. And boy, when they go in a corner 3 wide, that's not what you want. Carl Edwards is smart, backs out of it.
And here comes, you just saw, that's Carl Edwards' car. Clint Boyer down on the inside trying to make a move. In the 2 car, here comes Boyer just sailing along on the very bottom of the racetrack, right behind Leffler.
See, those top 3 get away just a little bit.
Well, as they line up 14 laps away from the checkered flag and $1.5 million purse, can Kyle Busch finally hang on? We'll find out in a moment. This ESPN telecast of the NASCAR Busch Series at Daytona is available in high definition on ESPN2 HD, presented by Vizio. Well, laps clicking down. It is, what a scramble we have. We have 4 cars nose to tail up front. This second pack, this is a recipe for disaster here with 10 laps to go.
If they can sort this deal out, they can catch that lead group real quick. And they're trying to figure it out right now. Right now, the problem is it's only 10 laps to go, and they don't want to. These guys are trying to be up the first guy up to this group. They don't want to be the guys trailing them.
Andy, one thing I've been looking at is a 2-car, Clint Boyer. He's in 4th position right now. And you got Blaney up there in 3rd, and he keeps trying to make a move on the leaders. And I'll tell you what, if he makes that move, watch for Boyer to go down and go with that 21 car. Man, Harvick is loose out there.
Talking about the 2 car, that is a BB&T Bullet. That's hard to say without stuttering. That's
pretty good. That's pretty good, Jerry. I like that.
He's led early on and has come from the middle of the pack all the way back to lead these guys. And we were talking in break a moment ago. Looks like Clint Boyer really has a strong race car. The question is, when does he make his move? Let's check in and find out. Maybe Dave has heard something on the radio.
Well, and Jerry, these guys are part-timers, remember. They don't run the whole season. And last week, after finishing 6th at Loudon, they were mad. They have a team that can win races. They proved that earlier this year. But they were a little bit upset that they didn't win last week. This week, they look like they're in position again. Caution on the track, Doc.
All right, thank you, Dave. Debris on the racetrack. And so there was some contact and the Wimmer car, Scott Wimmer car, had some contact, and we have some sheet metal coming off. You see the left rear of his car, and also where it has cut a tire, the sheet metal, and that's some of the rubber casing on the outside of that Goodyear tire has been sheared away. So we can show you what happened from his Holiday Inn onboard camera.
Let's watch him get down to turn 1 here, Jerry. See what happens here. Oh, he gets hit from the back, guys. He got crunched right in the left rear quarter panel and steered him right in the wall as they're getting ready to enter turn 3. So that's nothing. Let's watch again like here. Let's take a look. It looks like Marcus Ambrose got in the left rear quarter panel of him.
I think they just stacked up. It looked like they just kind of got stacked up, and then he got a little contact from behind.
I tell you what, there's a lot of contact. It bent that quarter panel way up.
Yeah, give a call to Regan Smith, the Army car, all the way down on the grass. He held on. Under caution for the 5th time. Back with the restart in a moment. Well, the NHRA rolls into Thunder Valley with Hot Rod Fuller leading the way in Top Fuel and Ron Capps at the top of the funny car standings. The NHRA O'Reilly Thunder Valley Nationals qualifying later today at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Finals coverage Sunday at 9:30 Eastern. All right here on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. Well, 7 laps ago here at Daytona. Let's check in with our in-race reporter, Kevin Harvick, who is running in 2nd spot.
Hey, Kevin, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
10-4, Rusty.
Buddy, I don't know what that thing looks or feels like, but up here watching you, that baby looks really loose. And it looks like the bottom of the track's where you're working the best. Is that about right?
Yeah, it's a handful, that's for sure. You know, if I can keep it on the bottom wide open, I can seem to make ground, but just got to hit it just right or it's too loose, and then you wind up having to check up out of the throttle a little bit. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. We only have 6 laps to go here, so don't matter much what we have, how it handles. You just got to hold it down and go for it.
All right, man, I guess you guys are probably talking to Clint Boyer. Looks like you need him on your back end right there in this restart. If Boyer can get underneath the 10-car Blaney, you might have a shot.
Yeah, I think having Clint back there, it's not going to hurt or anything, that's for sure. So we'll see what happens with the AutoZone Chevrolet, and you know we'll try. I promise you that.
All right, buddy, we'll talk to you in about 10 minutes. See what happens here. Bring it home.
All right, man, thanks.
All right, aerial coverage here, high above the restart here, courtesy of our good friends at Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping drivers get to the finish line for the past 25 years. Now, you'll see them line up single file here, and that is because we are inside the final 10 laps of the race, and the rules say it is a single file restart. Guys, who's your horse here in these final 6 laps?
I like Kevin Harvick. I like what I heard in his voice right there. I think he's pretty confident. Although that 5 car is going to be, he's going to be tough. He's led a lot of laps.
You know, you're supposed to pick the guy leading the race that's been dominating all day long, right? And Jerry just said he hasn't finished in the top 10 ever here. So, and Harvick, he's so good. And I think the key here, guys, if he can get behind, if Bowyer can get behind the 21 of Harvick and then get a good run, that could win Kevin Harvick the race.
And don't forget about that 10 car of Dave Blaney.
Yes, and that absolutely. And you know what? These guys tend to go with the fastest car.
And those Toyotas are hungry. Toyotas have never won in NASCAR Busch Series competition. They've won 2 poles, second race of the year in California with Blaney. And, of course, this one here with Leffler. They are hungry to get to victory lane. Oh, by the way, the 21 car of Kevin Harvick, he is in line for an ESPY award. He's been up for best driver category. He just may have to show off his stuff here in these final laps. Mike?
He's also been nominated in another category, Best Race Finish, for winning the Daytona 500. But, you know, if he picks up this win today and sweeps the Busch races here in Daytona in 2007, the credit could be given to what they did during the offseason. They spent 3.5 days at the General Motors Proving Ground, a 5-mile testing track where they tested aero and motor. Shane Wilson told me it went so well that they ran out of motors and fuel, and they credit that for their success on the super speedways this year. Shannon?
Well, Dave Blaney, currently running third, came over the radio to his crew chief Trent Owens and said, I'm dead in the water with the 2 car behind me. He's really hoping that 9 car gets behind him and gives him a little bit of help on this restart.
All right, they jump in the throttle. Green flag waves from Kevin Moss, and we folks are just 5 laps away from the checkered flag. Can Kyle Busch hang on? He has not won this year. Yes, he led at the white flag at Las Vegas, but he didn't get the win because he got passed coming out of turn 4. Can he hang on here for 5 more laps at Daytona?
Well, I tell you what, Kyle Busch is looking right now, because that was a key moment of the race going into turn 1. And Clint Bowyer did all he could to get underneath the 10 car of Dave Blaney. Didn't happen.
And Dave Blaney just got a great restart, got up underneath the back end of Kevin Harvick, almost turned him into the wall right there. Real lucky not to wreck.
Jason Leffler shuffled out of the draft on the inside there. As you see the 9 car, that's Casey Kane trying to get up to the high side of the 2. Can Kane now push Clint Bowyer up on the outside?
Now Bowyer opens up the door for Casey Mears to go to the bottom of the track. Totally unexpected for that to happen. His car must be really loose, Andy, for that to happen.
A scramble zone right here. These guys are trying to get with their teammates. You see the 24 car trying to work his way up there. Maybe he can help the 5 car win the race.
At Talladega, it was the high line that really came into being with 1 lap to go. That's how Bobby Labonte and Tony Stewart made their move. But right now, the bottom line, Rusty seems to be the preferred group.
Well, the bottom line's preferred, that's for sure. And Clint Bowyer, the only thing he's got going for him right now is to try to ride that high line and hope that this car holds on, the handling of it, that he can run wide open on the top. But boy, it is slick all over this place. Temperatures are rising, getting close to 100 degrees here in Daytona.
It is heating up on the racetrack and off. How long do you wait, guys? Rusty Wallace, how long do you wait if you're Kevin Harvick and Dave Blaney? How long do you give Kyle Busch to sit out there and lead this race?
Doc, he's doing all he can right now. He can't do any waiting. He needs to go now, because take every advantage you can. There's no more of the slingshot draft where you wait till the last corner and you hammer down and you go, Andy, like the old days.
I think they're just waiting to get with each other. If they can get some teammates up there, if Kevin Harvick could just get his teammate Clint Bowyer up behind him on his back bumper. They're just looking for an opening. Any little opening. They're going to take it now with just 3 laps to go.
7.5 miles away from the checkered flag. Not many openings left here. You're going to have to make your own here as the front 3 now nose to tail. 4 car lengths back to Casey Mears. Then comes the 2 car, but he is under attack from Tony Stewart.
Guys, I tell you what, the 24, he just needs a little drafting help to get up there. And boy, did you see that a little while ago? That 25 car, David Gilliam.
Got in trouble.
Whoa,
dead
trouble.
sideways.
42 car, Juan Pablo Montoya sideways, sailing toward pit road, somehow gets it right.
Go down pit road, just decrease your speed, decrease your speed, decrease your speed.
And caution will come out again here today.
4 tires, right here, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop.
And Juan Pablo Montoya will bring out caution for the 6th time today and come right down pit road, and they will put right side tires on the car.
Yeah, the crew wasn't quite expecting him to come in that quick.
I tell you, he did a good job getting that baby on pit road without spinning, coming at pit road. So good job out of him. And then the crew chief, slow down in the spotter, both talking.
Yeah, that's okay to come down pit road when you're avoiding an accident or part of an accident, but you got to reduce your speed once you get there.
And watch Montoya right in front of Casey Kane, gets sideways, almost gets the back end of Tony Stewart.
We've seen some real close calls today.
And he had the worst case scenario right there with a 9 car right behind him, of Casey Kane, right on the bumper of Montoya. Got him really loose.
In and out, in and out. In and out.
And for more information on drafting and how all this works and how you try to avoid incidents, log on to ESPN.com, search word safety.
All right, guys, let me tell you what's going to happen here. This is what I think from experience here in the past at Daytona. I believe that 10 car who's run behind Harvick, if Harvick makes a run, they're going to go with Harvick. That 10 car is going to go with it. Whatever place that second place car moves, that third place car is going to follow. That's a shot he's got. He's not just going to hang himself out to dry. He's going to go wherever Harvick goes. He's got to right now. Harvick could win this race. He's got one more shot at it now.
Kyle Busch was looking good just till this caution came out. This is the worst thing that could have happened to him because this is going to be an opportunity for these guys to line up and get by him.
All right, let's hear what the crew chiefs have to say. Jamie.
Well, Alan Gustafson, crew chief. Alan, you guys have been in this situation before. What do you do from right now to get to the finish ahead of...
Just do what we've been doing all day. That Delphi Spectre side at Lowe's Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS has been really, really good. Kyle's done a great job. The guys at the Fab Shop, everybody back at Hendrick Motorsports with the motor. Can't say enough. You know, the car we had here in February was real dominant, had some mechanical problems. We lost that car at Talladega. Had to turn this one around real quick. Those guys really dug in. Got them a good car here, nice smooth restart, and hopefully we'll finally get the race we deserve.
All right, we're going to see what happens here in just a few laps. Let's go to Mike.
Well, Kevin Harvick lines up right on the rear bumper of Kyle Busch and Shane Wilson. Does he have the help he needs to get by the leader?
Well, I'm not sure. You know, it's going to be a good race. Basically, your best 3 cars are up there now, and just hope we can bring it home. And, you know, I mean, hopefully we'll have the same results we did in the spring.
It's been an eventful day for you. You had a problem on pit road. You had an alternator problem. How have you been able to keep this car in contention?
The car's good. I mean, everyone at RCR has done a good job. I mean, I think the car's better now than it was in the spring. You know, we've been able to battle back from some bad luck today. And, you know, I mean, we're in a good position right now. We're second with 3 laps to go with Kevin Harvick. We're ready.
Well, Dave, Kevin Harvick trying to sweep the Busch races here at Daytona in 2007.
Mike, Casey Mears was so bad earlier. Crew Chief Chad Walter was looking to me for help. Talk about desperate. You pulled out that fender a little bit on the right-hand side. Seems to help the car a lot.
Yeah, we really struggled at the beginning of this race. We dropped all the way back because we knew we had to fix it if we had a shot to win this thing. That's what this National Guard Chevy's here to do. Casey's been doing a great job, and we're going to see what happens here. You know, if we can't get up to our teammate Kyle Busch, we're at least going to try and get around these 2 in between us and make a show for these guys.
Sounds good. The 53rd Infantry on board today, the Gator Brigade from Florida, guys.
Wow, Chad Walter asking Dave Burns for help. Pace car is off. Can they get it done? Can Kyle Busch somehow avoid the jinx? A green-white-checkered for the first time in 2007. Who's it going to be? Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Dave Blaney. Here comes Mears. Here comes Boyer.
I'm afraid Kevin didn't good enough restart. He got too far behind the 5 car on that one. 10 car was about a car behind him. Kevin was about a car. Look at Boyer going to the outside. He needs some help to keep that one going, though.
Yeah, he slides up to the high side, and Tony Stewart feels the hole right on his inside. They come off of turn 2, 187 miles an hour, and Kyle Busch stays hugging to that bottom groove as there are 7 cars lined up in the bump draft.
Jerry, that's where he's got to stay. You see the bump draft going on right now with the Casey Mears, but that 5 car of Kyle Busch has got to keep it glued to the bottom. If he can keep that thing on the bottom, he's got this race won. And you know what, guys? If he wins it, he deserves it because he's had the fastest car all day long.
Well, he led the white flag at Las Vegas, Nevada. He did not win the race. He has yet to win in 2007, and now it is time for Harvick and company to go on the attack.
And he's getting a huge push from the 10 car of Dave Blaney behind him.
Get some help. He might do it.
All right, we got a big change here now. This is it.
Kevin Harvick up high. Got some help from Tony Stewart. And remember, it was in February. Whoa, contact, and David Reagan spins around.
Reckon behind you.
No caution yet.
No caution.
He's out of the way.
They will race back to the checkered flag.
Can Kevin Harvick get enough help?
Kyle Busch at a turn 4. Harvick is 2 car lengths back. Behind him, Dave Blaney. 2 Chevys and a Toyota. Kyle Busch trying to hang on and get his first win of 2007, and Kyle Busch will do it and win at Daytona.
I'll tell you what, Harvick didn't. It wasn't easy on him. Harvick had him right in his gun sights, and he was going for it. But that last caution.
Kyle Busch just too dominant today. Nobody had anything for him today.
Oh, you're right, Andy. He really had him covered today. Real fast car.
Yeah, give a call to Mike Bumgarner, Alan Gustafson, the entire Hendrick organization. A brand new race car that had not even been to the wind tunnel they built, finished just a week ago, and came here and dominated by leading twice for 66 laps.
Jerry, when Harvick went to the top side, it looked like the move he put on Mark Martin in the Daytona 500. But when that caution flagged through, he couldn't go for it. Take a look at that wreck. 32 car Brian Vickers in the wall, caused a chain reaction, and David Reagan spinning in the bottom, didn't hit anything, but the race is over.
All right, Jamie down in the 5 pits, so let's check in with you.
Well, Doc, coming into this race, Kyle Busch had led the most laps in 4 races. 3 of those ended in a DNF. What was the difference here today, Alan?
I think some brakes just went our way. You know, these guys in this Delphi Chevy work really hard, and the pit stops have been good. The cars have been there. Kyle's drove his tail off, and things just didn't go our way. Hopefully, we've got that monkey off our back, and now we can go win a few more. I think it's the first win for Hendrick Motorsports Busch Speedway program here. Real proud of all the guys back in the shop. Can't say enough for them. Just real proud for these guys. They really deserve this win.
Alan, this is the first race you guys have had with Kyle since the announcement he's leaving this organization. What does this mean for you and the team together?
I mean, we support Kyle. We've always supported Kyle. And that whole situation's tough. It's something that none of us wanted to get into. I understand, you know, business is business and things happen the way they happen. But Mr. Hendrick's a great boss and a great leader, and he'll see us through.
Alan Gustafson will call the shots for his driver, Kyle Busch, tonight in the Cup race.
All right, Jamie, a landmark day for Kyle Busch. His 100th career NASCAR Busch Series starts, and he finally gets a win in Busch competition here at Daytona. ESPN's presentation of the NASCAR Busch Series at Daytona has been brought to you by Accelerate. Don't fade, accelerate. And Castrol GTX high mileage superior oil burn-off protection for cars over 75,000 miles. And by freecreditreport.com. Stay on top of your credit score and credit report. Let's check in the garage where Mike is caught up with our second place finisher.
And Doc, a tip of the cap to Kevin Harvick. He had to overcome some obstacles today, a problem on pit road, an alternator problem. Still came up second. What about that restart? What did you need to get by Kyle Busch?
I just needed one car right behind me. I got up beside him there and just wound up losing my momentum, and the 10 was on the inside, and the 5 was able to keep it wide open. But great day for this AutoZone Chevrolet. All these guys did a great job getting us back in contention. Had a lot of problems today, and just had to overcome a lot of things, and had a really good race car to get back where we needed to be. And I felt like if we could ever get to the lead, it would be lights out, but just never came up one short and never quite made it.
And Shannon, there was some question coming into this race whether or not these double duty guys would be fresh enough for the Cup race. I asked Kevin as he got out of the car. He said, "I'm absolutely ready."
And Kyle Busch climbs out of his car in victory lane for the first time in the 2007 season. Kyle Busch gives high fives to all of his team members. Gets a little Gatorade bath from his crew chief Alan Gustafson and his girlfriend Erica Dewey, who's getting in on this. All right, Kyle. First of all, I got to ask you about that battle with Kevin Harvick right there at the end. Tell me about that.
It was definitely going to be a hairy battle. I knew Harvick wanted it just as bad as we did, but this Delphi Chevrolet was awesome. These guys did an awesome job. I want to thank everybody back at the shop for building this thing, and Delphi and Spectrum and everybody that's been involved, Stay Green, Spectracide, GMAC, Quaker State, everybody that helps us with this program. And we finally get one. We finally get one. This is where it all started this year, and we ended up missing out on it, but we got it back here today, so very proud of this team.
Kyle Busch, it's been such an emotional year for you, and you've been so close so many times. What does this win mean to you guys?
It means a lot. I mean, not only to this whole team, but of course to myself, to prove everybody that I don't give up. And, you know, I'm here to win races just as much as these guys are, week in and week out. And, you know, if we can't get the job done, I don't think anybody can.
All right, it's going to be a pretty long day for Kyle Busch as he does the hat dance in victory lane and then gets ready for the Cup race later today. Alan.
All right, thank you, Shannon. The 5-car Kyle Busch in victory lane for the first time in 2007, and what a finish. He led twice for 66 laps. He picks up his 8th career win. He had not won since March 25th, 2006 at Bristol, Tennessee, some 38 races ago. Back with more in a moment.
The scene in victory lane at Daytona, Kyle Busch getting something every NASCAR driver wants, his name on a Daytona winner's trophy.
Absolutely wonderful race for Kyle Busch. He finally gets out front and leads a ton of laps and gets that victory. It's well deserved.
Led 2/3 of the race. Carl Edwards, the championship leader starting the day, finished in 11th spot, so the Busch Series championship standings as the second half of the season begins. Still a rather healthy margin for Carl over second place in the driver's rundown. A couple of young guys in the top 10, David Reagan, Marcus Ambrose, Stephen Light, as we head to Chicago next week. More on today's top finishers. Let's go to Jamie.
Tony Stewart started second, finished fourth. What an exciting race for you, Tony. Back and forth, back and forth. Talk about those last couple of restarts with some of your buddies like Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, it was. We were a little bit too tight at the beginning of the day, and then we got on the other side of it, and got loose, and never could get it back from being loose. So right there at the end, where you had to push hard and you had to take chances, we were a little in the wiggly stages a couple times in the last 20 laps. But Jason Ratcliffe and all the guys in the Slim Jim team did a great job. I mean, it's the second time I've got to drive this 18 Busch car for Joe Gibbs Racing, and they do a great job. I mean, I'm really, really proud of those guys. It's just a lot of fun to it feels just like my Cup cars as far as how I sit in the cars and everything, so it makes that fun. But it was fun. I mean, I had a fun day. Just we couldn't quite get exactly where we wanted to be today balance-wise, but still ended up with a top 5.
You can bet Tony Stewart took some notes today. He'll come back tonight for the Cup race. Let's go to Dave.
Jamie, after a strong second place finish earlier this year, Dave Blaney brings home a third. Clint Boyer came over to you and said, I had to try. Talk about those last laps racing with everybody.
Yeah, I had to try to block him too, and that was close. He let me go, or we'd have been wrecked. But we had a good car all day, man. A great Camry today, great engine. Got to thank John Dysinger, all them guys, Trento, and all the Braun cars. Man, we had a strong car in February, and new sponsor this week in Seymour, and gave him a good ride.
Dave Blaney had a great job today in that 10 car.
Well, the Navy SEAL car just rolled in. It looks like it has a Darlington stripe on the right side. What was the day like?
It was fun. My car ran good. I got to thank the Navy and the SEALs especially. Those guys came out. A couple of them came out today. It was great to meet them, and thank Budweiser for letting me drive the car this weekend. And we had a pretty good day. We got up there in the top 5 for a little bit, and we was running scuffs on the first 2 sets, and the last 2 sets were stickers, and we think they got the car real tight, and we lost a lot of track position. But pretty happy, real proud of my team. Our car wasn't that good, but we know what we got to work with, and we know what we got to bring back here in February for whoever the driver may be. But, pretty happy.
When you say the car's not that good, obviously people want to know how you would evaluate your own equipment. Where do you need to improve?
Well, our bodies are great. My car turned good all day. We got a little extra downforce on the front. And so I got to thank my uncles, Robert and Jimmy, for that. But we don't pull the car down good enough with the suspension and all the little things you can do within the rules. Of course, in the rear end, we don't do. It's basically just a box stock suspension under there, and we're not traveling as much as we need to. A lot of little tricks that Pops and them guys know. He's going to bring a lot to the table, help us get a little better at the plate stuff. But our mile and a half stuff's pretty good, but we need to get a whole lot better here. We can't qualify back there where we did. That's embarrassing for one. Plus, we got to do better. But we can race good.
Embarrassing is a strong word, and obviously it's because Dale Jr.'s had so much success here at this particular racetrack. He's got another shot at going to victory lane tonight in the Nextel Cup race. Shannon?
Well, Carl Edwards started in the back of the field, battled all the way to 11th. What was it like out there for you guys today?
Man, just a lot of fun, with the slick conditions. The half-lap fusion was a little bit tight. I ended up hitting the wall once, scraped the duck clean off the right side, and but other than that, it was a blast. I just got to say congratulations to the 5 crew. They've been awesome all year, and for them to win a race and Kyle to get one, that's pretty cool.
All right, you start 7th tonight in the Cup race. What do you have for us in that race?
I don't know. I feel bad for Boris and those guys that had to go home, but great for us in that Office Depot Fusion to start 7th. And you never know. It's a lot slicker than I thought it was going to be. So I think you're going to see some exciting racing tonight. It could be good.
All right, Carl Edwards getting ready for the Cup race tonight. Back to you, Doc.
All right, thank you, Shannon. I don't think I've ever heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. use the word embarrassing with regard to his performance at Daytona. He didn't qualify well, 35th, but he came hunting toward the front here in the first few laps, got all the way to 6th, then bounced it off the wall and gets a respectable 14th place finish.
Yeah, he did. He drove the car hard, and it didn't handle that well. It looked like to me he was chasing the car all day, right up next to the wall, scuffed the wall a few times, but then he brought it back for 14th, so that's a respectable finish. I wouldn't call that embarrassing.
Kevin Harvick Harvick, an ill-handling car, but still managed to hang on and finish second. But boy, he had his hands full in his last few. It looked like you out here just sort of dirt tracking
I'll tell
around
you,
this track.
he was our in-race reporter, did a great job, kept looking at the camera, talking to us, and man, he had a loose car today, but he held on to that baby, and he brought it home in second place. But Kyle Busch, really honestly, guys, had the fastest car in the field, and you know, he rightfully should have won, and he did.
But Kyle Busch wins a race, and the Toyotas are getting stronger and stronger and getting that much closer. 2 cars finishing in the top 9. Alan?
All right, Doc, just sitting here talking about Kyle Busch and the fact that he and the Hendrick team are going their separate ways at season's end with Brad. And Brad, when you were eliminated from the playoffs in your basketball career, playing for pride, I guess that's the situation that relates.
Well, I'll tell you, Kyle Busch showed me a lot of guts today. He had a great race car, and he did what he was supposed to do, and someone's going to get a terrific young race car driver at the Cup Series. I'm really excited for him. He deserved this win, and boy, he showed a lot of racing today. He went out and laid down the law that he is a good race car driver, and you give him the equipment, he's going to win.
And just 250 miles of Kyle and a lot of other drivers. Daytona 650 in the books. Kyle starts 11th in tonight's Nextel Cup Series race. And in fact, the top 8 finishers in today's Busch Series race will all be in the 400 later on tonight. So they've got a couple hours to go back and hydrate and rest and think about it.
Yeah, Casey Kane got a great finish today. You know, he struggled a little bit, even though he does have a win in that race car. It's a good finish for him. Reed Sorensen, it's good to see him run up front. Casey Mears and Jason Leffler, all these guys did a good job of getting a good solid finish, and now they move on.
And now they get to think about track conditions and all the rest for the next several hours. Well, coming up next, Bassmasters Elite Series. Hope you'll stay with us for that. And don't forget to join our ESPN race team next week when we head to Chicago. More racing action, the NASCAR Busch Series at Chicago, presented by Old Spice. Coverage starting at 2:30 Eastern on ABC and ABC HD. Kyle Busch had his hands full most of the day trying to fend off a very strong Kevin Harvick, Dave Blaney, Clint Boyer, but it is Kyle Busch in victory lane, winner of today's NASCAR Busch Series race at Daytona. Chicagoland next Saturday, 2:30 Eastern Time, NASCAR Busch Series Racing, presented by Old Spice on ABC and ABC HD. We'll see you then. Thanks for joining us from Daytona.